So we can go ahead and start without him. It is 6:35. Today is May 23rd. I'm going to call to order the regular monthly meeting of the Indianapolis Public Library Board. Angie, can we have a call to roll?
Yes, sir. Mr. Bixby.
Present.
Dr. Murtada. Present. Ms. Payne.
Present.
Dr. Robinson.
Present.
Joe Salinas.
Present.
And Ms. Triple. Present.
Okay, we do have a quorum. I do anticipate that our board member Ray will be here within 5 to 10 minutes. Before we get started, folks, I do believe that we have an acknowledgement that Dr. Murtada wanted to make sure that we did.
We have an individual in our presence who deserves to get 2 Fs. As 2 Fs. As a teacher, as an educator, we give grades, 2 Fs. One for fun and one for fatherly. Randy, you've been given to this library and the Indianapolis Public Libraries, you and your wife, for over 50 years. You personally for over 30 years, 32 years, if I'm not mistaken. So I joke when I said, we joke when we say 2 Fs. But the reality is that you're caring, congenial, reliable, and someone who we must turn to whenever we need someone who will always fill in and pitch in when needed. Thank you so very much for not putting me on the camera right now. So all that stuff about reliable, forget it. But as I checked with each of the board members, all of them said, we really must thank you so very much for all that you've done, all that you will continue to do for the next, was it 1 week or 2 weeks? For the next 2 weeks, but just, yes, Pat, he's retired. You cannot believe I didn't know that. So thank you so very much. Can we all give him a round?
Amen. That was excellent. Thank you so much, Dr. Machado. Thank you, sir, for your service to this library and to our community. We'll move on to the public comment and communication part of our meeting. At every library board meeting, we open up with time for the public comment. We welcome feedback from the public about our library, about our Indianapolis libraries. And this time is when the public may address the library board. If there are several of you representing the same group, please select a spokesperson. Please do not repeat the same comments someone else has offered. Please note that also that this public comment time is not the appropriate forum for commenting on matters related to alleged employee misconduct. Any such matters should be brought promptly to the attention of the library interim CEO or the Human Resources Department, where matters can be properly addressed in compliance with established library policies and procedures. A 5-minute time limit will be allowed for each speaker. Each speaker should give their name and their address. We have one speaker, Melinda Mulligan. Welcome.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
My name is Melinda Mulligan. I am the manager of the Wayne Branch Library, west side of Indianapolis. But I'm here actually tonight with a wonderful opportunity. I'm the chairperson of the Program and Scholarship Committee as part of Staff Association. It's been a minute since I've been able to address this board, but I have the opportunity to give a check. Katrina, would you join me up here, please? Katrina Barnett is in library school, just started her, I guess, your career. Yeah. I have opportunity to hand you a check. We give $1,000 for master's degrees per semester, $500 for undergraduate per semester. And of course, it depends on how many candidates we have, how many applicants. Congratulations. Yeah.
Say thank you to the Staff Association for allowing me to have this opportunity to get this
Give me a little bit more information about what you're going to school for. What are you?
Well, I am currently going to school to get my master's degree in library science. I don't have a particular specialization yet. So right now I'm just trying to find what best fits for me.
Wonderful, we need you. Wonderful.
Thank you.
I did try to persuade her. We have a position possibly coming up in my branch. You know, It's a PSA position, so perfect for somebody in library school, but no pressure.
Where will you be going? Where?
As far as IUPUI.
I'm sorry.
Calm down. So I just completed my first year, so I'm excited.
Congratulations.
Another great program. Yes, it is. Support for it.
Yes, and we still been handing out funds each semester, but it's been me driving to the branch or to the wherever the candidate is or applicant, giving them the funds since with COVID and everything else.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah,
Very.
happy to be back as part of the programming scholarship committee.
Amen. Good job. Thank you so much, both of you. All right, I don't think we had any letters that were sent out to the board. We'll move on to item number 4. Approval of the minutes of executive regular and special meeting. The regular meeting was April 25th, 2022. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of the regular meeting held on April 25th, 2022? Is
So moved.
there a second?
Second.
Any discussion on that motion? Seeing none, Angie, can we have a call to roll, please?
Mr. Bixby,
Approved.
Dr. Matata,
Approved.
Ms. Payne,
Approved.
Dr. Robinson,
Approved.
Judge Salinas,
Approved.
and Ms. Tribble.
Approved.
Thank you.
Motion carries. We'll move on to the committee reports. Finance Committee, Dr. Payne.
Carolyn.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
What page are you going to be on? Are you going to be on, Carol?
We're going to start on page 18 of the packet.
Thank you.
This is the report of the treasurer for the April 2022 financial statements. Specifically, I'll jump to page 19, which is our operating fund revenues and expenditures. And this just gives our year-to-date actual for April compared to our revised budget. There are no new surprises in April, and this, compares to this time last year. On the expenditure side, in total, we've spent 26% of our budget. It's 4 months into the year, so the goal would be to spend 33% of the budget, but this is a good place because expenditures usually pick up at the end of the year. So not really anything to report there. And then on the next page, we do have our graphs. For the operating fund, we have charts on page 20. And as you can see, we're tracking closely to last year on revenues and expenditures. We do break down our major expenditure categories on the second graph there. And I did want to point out that salaries has increased over last year. I just wanted to remind everyone that we did increase minimum hourly rate for pages this year. It was brought up to $12.50 an hour for pages. And then the former pay grades 2 and 3 were consolidated in with pay grade 4. And their minimum hourly rate was brought up to $15.17 at January 1st. So that would explain a bigger increase in salaries this year over last year. It's the first chart on the left, the purple. I think we're tracking about a 7% increase over last year at this time for salaries. And then the other interesting thing I thought to bring up at this point in time is on page 26 is our investment report, which shows where we're currently investing our funds. And I'm just bringing it up because our interest rates are starting to increase again since the Fed increased their rate, the borrowing rate. And I just wanted to mention, I'll pick the Hoosier Fund and the Trust Indiana items. For April, Hoosier Fund was tracking a 0.35% rate, which currently Hoosier Fund's almost doubled. It's at 0.65%. Not a lot, but it's double almost. And then the Trust Indiana, which was tracking 0.30% in April, it's currently at 0.57%. So I just anticipate each month these rates going up and up, which can be good or bad. And I wanted to say I went back in time, and the last time, well, pre-COVID, back in February 2020 was the last time the rates were pretty high. Hoosier Fund was at 1.8% at that point, and Trust Indiana was at 1.64%. And the others were up too. So I just kind of wanted to give you a little historical focus on that. The budget for interest this year for the operating fund is about $69,000. Last year's actual was only $36,000. So last year's budget was $90,000. So I feel like we're easily probably going to make budget $90,000 this year. So probably a lot more, but we'll be seeing more interest income. And then I just wanted to say in 2020, the actual for interest income in the operating account was $192,000. So I'm just saying we're tracking back on getting more interest income. And I wanted to point that out. Are there any, the rest of the pages are our different funds throughout the report. And that was the treasurer's report for this month. Are there any questions?
Seeing none, is there a motion to accept the report of the treasurer?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion on item number on the report? Seeing none, Angie, can we have a call roll, please?
Mr. Biederman.
Approved.
Mr. Bixby.
Approved.
Dr. Matada.
Approved.
Ms. Payne.
Approved.
Dr. Robinson.
Approved.
Judge Salinas.
Approved.
And Ms. Tribble.
Approved.
Thank you.
Item B.
Item B is a request to authorize the resolution 29-2022. This is on page 36 in your online document. So this is the request authorizing the approval of our vendor CDWG, the Semantic Endpoint Security Complete Bundle annual subscription quote. And if you have any questions during this resolution, Danica Hayward, our IT director, is in the audience too to help us with any questions. This particular quote, which is in with the resolution, it gives the library the endpoint detection and response functionality, the EDR functionality to meet requirements for cybersecurity insurance coverage. So as cyber threats continue, our cybersecurity insurance, which is up for renewal August 1st, they're already meeting with us and giving us recommendations on security items we have to put in place. So we're, Shanique is spearheading that to get those in place so we can check those boxes off when we apply for cybersecurity insurance. So this is one of those items they are requiring us to have. And this standard endpoint protection is for all workstations and servers. And there's also email messaging gateway security for each staff mailbox. The endpoint security helps to respond to items such as antivirus, anti-malware, and malicious software protection on all the endpoints for our computer networks and computers, hardware. This item is in the budget and will be paid for out of the IT operating budget. Were there any specific questions about this resolution?
Is this for staff computers only or for staff and public?
Staff and public.
Any questions from the board?
No, just a comment about how important it is that all the workstations are secured. With the increased attacks in every aspect of what we're doing, it's even more important that we have that kind of security. So this is timely and much necessary.
It's very necessary. IPS just did this, and all of the HBCUs they cracked their whole code and went in, and there's one of the HBCUs that has to close because of that. So very much am in favor of this.
I'm assuming we have a policy that don't open emails unless you recognize them or they look funny?
Yeah, we actually do testing where we send out fake emails and we can track who we need to help train to make sure they don't open fake emails. So we're, we talked to the insurance agency and or insurance agent, and we're on top. We're in pretty good shape, as far as cybersecurity. Probably due to the fact we do have a lot of patron computers as well.
Thank you. Any additional questions or comments from the board? Seeing none, is there a motion to approve resolution 29?
So moved. Second.
Okay. The motion is seconded. Any just further discussion on resolution 29? Seeing none, Angie, can we have a call to roll, please?
Mr. Peterman,
Approved.
Mr. Bixby,
Approved.
Dr. Makata,
Approved.
Ms. Payne,
Approved.
Dr. Robinson,
Approved.
Judge Salinas,
Approved.
Ms. Tribble.
Approved.
Thank you.
Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll move on to item 6, Diversity Policy Human Resources Committee. Folks.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm going to be joined by Keisha Galarcy and I think Keisha, who's going to come up. I'm just going to talk briefly about just give an update on the CEO search process. I mentioned, but we're still on schedule for the process, for the timeline that was listed, that I gave last month. We have had 2 initial meetings of the search committee. We have a search committee that's comprised of the members of the Diversity Policy and HR Committee, as well as 9 members from the community. And it's a very diverse community. We have committee, we have stakeholders who were recommended by our area resource managers, as well as the foundation. Want to thank staff for giving a great overview and orientation to the committee to tell them about the library, so that we all are working from everybody singing from the same hymnal. Everybody's the position was posted this last Monday, and it's been posted broadly. It's a national search, so not only locally but national sites. The firm that is doing the leading us in this search will also be doing focused calls to candidates they know who are in the industry. In July, the committee will meet again to receive all of the applicants who have met the requirements of the position, and we'll do choose 5 to 7 semifinalists and conduct interviews for those. And then in August, the 2 or 3 finalists will be brought here for in-person presentations to the committee, and then interviews by the board, which will make that selection. So everything's going along well, really happy about it, and grateful to the team who's been providing awesome support for that. So, and then I just want to turn it over to Tisha and Keisha. There were several items in the climate study report that were related to HR diversity. And I know they've started getting work on that, and we're still, with everything else that's going on, but Tisha's going to give us a preview of stuff that we're going to cover next month. What's going on?
So I just want to give you the update on the CFO, because we're also doing the search for the CFO. We have interviewed six candidates, and the final interview is scheduled for May 31st to select the candidate that is going to be the CFO. So I just want to give you that update now that we're here. And then Keisha and I were going to be talking about what we have started to do for the recommendations from ICE Miller. We have been working together on doing the trainings and also doing the update for the harassment reporting and the policy. We have implemented the new reporting tool for BKB. It should be live for employees to start using late June, early July. We're still working with the attorneys on the policies and procedures on how to use the reporting tool. And hopefully for next month, we will have a live how to use it in here for you guys. So that's the update on that. We have also updated our interview process and hiring process. So we started with the public services. We have added a bank of questions, the same with the key factors. So managers can use that just for the public service right now because that's the highest turnover. So eventually we would like to do it for all the departments and then establish a structured interviews for all the positions. But that will take a lot of time, but we started with public services, which is the biggest department that we have. Then Keisha and I were going to start going on tours to the branch. We'll be start talking about some expectations and ways of reporting and using the BKD product. We're going to start our tour in July, and we have contacted the branches and the managers at LSC to schedule those meetings. And then Keisha's here to talk about the training that we have started.
We have, so as of tomorrow, actually tomorrow and Wednesday, Peace Learning Center will be here to do the LSA training, Library Security Assistant Training. So that will empower not just our security assistants, but also other public-facing employees who might interact with patients or patrons who become disruptive or who need some special care in de-escalating situations. So Peace Learning Center will help us with that. That will happen, as I mentioned, tomorrow and Wednesday. And we will continue to offer this training as we hire more LSC or LSAs in the coming weeks.
Tell me again, what kind of training Peace Learning Center is doing?
It's kind of a two-prong approach. So first of all, they're going to teach de-escalation techniques. So you don't have 3 library employees, swarming and agitating a patron. Okay. They're going to teach them how to bring it down. The other prong is just kind of helping people to understand their implicit biases and how that affects how we interact with each other.
Okay, very good.
To what extent are you involving our social worker who is really paying a lot of attention to de-escalation?
She will certainly be in there, and any of her support staff has also been invited to attend as well.
Invited to attend the training or invited to participate in planning the training?
Invited to attend the training, but we'll also welcome any input moving forward as well.
I think it's critically important to ask her to be a part of training because that's her background and expertise. And as a staff member in the library, it would just make sense that she would be a part of offering that kind of training.
We also want to expand that training to include more of a mental health component with people who are more specialized in that area. And that's how we see her fitting into that part of the equation.
I think asking her would be it almost like flipping the script, asking her what aspects that she can contribute to that kind of professional development.
For sure.
I'm glad there's going to be a mental health component in it as well, because that's what I was asked, I believe, at our last meeting about CIT train specific, because I know you're probably going to have your more escalated situations most of the time for people with some type of mental illness or something. So if that can be ingrained or incorporated in that training, that would be, I think, the best way that you can, give back to the staff so they know how to handle those type of situations.
Absolutely.
Any other questions?
The CFO, I know you're gonna have the final interview on the 31st. You have an anticipated start date for that? Okay. Will depend on
Yeah,
the
it will
right?
depend.
How many candidates did you have apply?
We have 9 from the internal pool, and then we have 3 from the third-party company.
There's some questions from the board.
No other questions?
One question. Just for hope, does your committee have, you know, a idea about how many candidates that you want to at least try to interview before you close the process?
So the Bradbury Miller Associates, which is the search firm, has estimated that we'll receive 12 to 15. And they say that that number is based on people who will meet the criteria of the position. Just a note on that, I did, Joe sent out the announcement about the, that was posted for the position, as well as links to it. And I would encourage everybody to send it out to your networks. You never know, you know, there might be some offline librarians out there who could, who could actually qualify for the positions. But we do want to send that information out as broadly as possible. So I would encourage everybody to send to your network that information. There's also a web page established, so we'll that it lists all of the committee members, as well as it will track the progress of the process. So on it, thank Joe for getting that up.
Does the committee have the person from the library sciences program on the, you said community members are on there, but I didn't see that person from the library sciences program. And so many of our staff go through that professional development and getting their master's degrees.
From which library sciences program?
I think there are only 2 in the whole region.
Okay. I know we have former librarians on there, but I don't know if they're specifically from that program.
Find out if we have any of them on that, it might be useful for the future.
Okay.
And you said 2 to 3 finalists will be brought in.
Mhm.
3 would be great. Sometimes you lose one and then all your stuff. goes
Yeah,
wrong.
I think 3 is a better,
I think
better
3.
number too. Yeah. The judge wants 2, but but I keep thinking like just having that extra one is, yeah.
Okay, I got it. You're not bullied, I got it. Okay. Always go odd. And I'm confident that we have a good cross section of our community
We do.
on the committee. So I thank you, hope for that as well. Any other questions or comments on for diversity?
Thank you so very much, both of you, for all the work of going through and making sure that the recommendations by the study was being implemented. It's going to take a long time to really impact the climate and culture, but your work continuously put into place will make a difference for sure.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you both. I think that's all we have. I hope
Yes.
we move on to the finance or not finance, facilities committee. Curtis?
Good evening, everyone.
Evening.
Facilities Committee, at least for my portion, just had 2 items, item 7A and 7B. So item 7A is resolution 30-2022, approval to award a planning, programming, and design services contract for the learning curve at Central Library renovation project. So this is the long expected and awaited and anticipated refresh of the learning curve, including the entire the entire second floor and part of the third. That does include the teen area. Mike Coughlin put together a great statement of qualifications, request for qualifications, to which we received 7 statements of qualifications. I have the numbers. I want to say 64 vendors were contacted, along with 12 business development organizations. We had 7 respondents, and to vet those initial 7 respondents for a team that included myself, Shanika, Director of IT, 2 area resource managers at Central, and the manager of the learning curve, along with Mike's guidance. We narrowed those 7 down to 2, KRM Architecture plus KRM Plus, which is KRM Architecture plus a few other vendors, and Luminat Engineering, which is also Luminat plus other vendors. After 2-hour-long informational interviews, we recommend to award to KRM Plus for their expertise. They brought on a consultant, David Jakes, who is an expert in educational settings, along with their engineering expertise.
Any questions from the board? Seeing none, is there a motion to approve resolution?
So moved.
Second. Any further discussion on 30? Seeing none, can we have a call to vote, please, Angie?
Mr. Beederman,
Approved.
Mr. Bixby,
Approved.
Dr. Matata,
Approved.
Ms. Payne,
Approved.
Dr. Robinson,
Approved.
Judge Salinas,
Approved.
and Ms. Tribble.
Approved.
Thank you.
Motion carried. Move on to item B.
All right, item 7B, resolution 31-2022, approval to award a maintenance services contract for system-wide automated material handling equipment. In other words, our sorting equipment. So this is to award a 3-year contract for maintenance, preventive maintenance that's scheduled, and also to extend the warranty for our 6 automated material handling systems. Back in 2015, we awarded a Danish company the installation of these systems, IndyPL. Last year, they were bought out by a company, Lingso Systems, out of Finland. That's where the parent company is. Their subsidiary is a US-based company. We decided to go with them due to mainly their proprietary information, their acquisition of that information via their acquisition of PV Supa. All but one of our sorting equipment is out of warranty, and this extends it for 3 years. Our West Perry sorter has a warranty through August of this year, and that would extend it for another 3 years.
Thank you for keeping us abreast of it. When we had our facilities meeting, you brought us up to speed, told us the where and how and why, and so thank you for making sure that we are aware of.
Sure.
And it's in the budget and everything, right?
Yes, yeah, this would come out of our operating budget. It's about 89,000, 96, and 97,000 in years 1, 2, and 3.
So we factored for it.
Yes.
Any additional questions or comments from the board? So a motion to approve resolution?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion on the resolution? Angie, can we have a call to roll, please?
Mr. Beederman,
Approved.
Mr. Bixby,
Approved.
Dr. Matata,
Approved.
Ms. Payne,
Approved.
Dr. Robinson,
Approved.
Judge Salinas,
Approved.
and Ms. Tribble.
Approved.
Motion carries. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Dr. Payne, anything or Chris, anything else? No, there were. We'll move on to item 8, the Library Foundation update. Reverend Robinson.
Thank you, Judge Salinas. Every month, the Library Foundation provides an update to the Library Board. Library Foundation Board of Directors held its annual meeting on May 10th, and approval of a new slate of officers for a 2-year term was conducted. The new slate of officers are Angela Majors, Chair, Christia Hicks is Vice Chair, Aparo Dele Pena is Secretary, Chris Minall, Treasurer, and Drew Slosnick is the Media Pass Chair. Thank you to Michelle Hayes and Connie Smith and Amira Malcolm, Michael Torres, and Jordan Hunt for providing a tour of the CBLC for the Foundation Board of Directors prior to the annual meeting. The Foundation thanks 140 donors who made gifts last month. The following are our top corporate and foundation donors. If you should have an opportunity to thank these donors, we will be grateful. Blue & Company, College Savings Bank, Eli Lilly and Company Foundation, Indiana Education Savings Authority, Indianapolis Public Transportation Foundation, Peterman Brothers, Rich Charles, the Skillman Corporation, and Wallington Asset Management LLC. This month, the Library Foundation is proud to provide more than $270,000 to the library Examples of major initiatives supported include summer reading programs, animal programs, concert series, volunteer engagement, staff training, and simple and affordable plant-based cooking. For the president, that ends my report for this evening.
Any questions, of President Robinson on the Library Foundation? Seeing none, thank you so much for the update. Move on to item 9, reports of the interim CEO. Michelle was not able to be here. She's out of town. So she has asked me on her behalf to ask the board for approval or for consideration of resolution 32-2022 regarding finances, personnel, and travel. It is in the packet. Is there any questions from the board regarding this resolution? I think it was pretty standard that we see every month. Is there a motion to approve the resolution?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion on the resolution? Seeing none, Angie, can we have to call the roll, please?
Mr. Peterman,
Approved.
Mr. Bixby,
Approved.
Dr. Hurtado,
Approved.
Ms. Payne,
Approved.
Dr. Robinson,
Approved.
Judge Salinas,
Approved.
and Ms. Tribble.
Approved.
Thank you.
The motion is carried. As we noted, our interim CEO was not able to be here tonight. She did submit a summary of what her update would be to the board. It is included in the package. The board has reviewed it. I'm not going to read it today. Again, it was submitted to the board and is included into the minutes of tonight's meeting. Is there any comments or questions on the interim CEO summary that was provided to the board? Seeing none. We'll move on to new items. I wanted to add just to mention that for the public and our staff that our legal counsel is reaching out to the state library and asking them if they could help us out with board training in the areas that were covered by the climate study, and they've agreed to it. So we're hoping to get together as far as scheduling time with the board on areas of governance, and I'm hoping to do that sometime in early fall, August. Once we get the summer stuff out of the way in August, I know they can do it for, what was the time frame? 2 hours, 3 hours?
Between 2 and 3 hours, depending on the items selected.
I think there was 2 or 3 areas that they would cover, but that's in line with what the climate study focus on as far as short-term goals. I think that's good for us. Hopefully, we can get the time when we all can meet together as a board again, either early or mid or late August. If that's okay with everyone. Any comments or anything from the board?
I just want to coordinate that with the interviews if they're scheduled for August 3rd and 4th. So they're
Okay.
fairly early in the month.
No, I think it's very important that we start getting back out to the different branches like we used to back in the past, so that we can see patrons. Some of our patrons don't have the transportation provided to them, and a lot of them walk to different branches. So I'm glad that we're looking at moving in that direction and getting back out to the branches so that we can be closer and be more mindful of our patrons that we serve on this board for, as well as the staff. So I'm glad that we're looking at that, moving in that direction, I guess, very shortly in the short term.
Some of them may not even have the ability to watch the library meetings online. So this would be very good. I'm very much in favor of that. Plus, they always serve really good food.
Wow, okay. I'm 100% in favor of going into the branches like we did before the pandemic. There are some logistical complications that some of our branches may have. Joe is able to answer any questions if the board has any, or he can provide that in individual comments or emails to the board members. But it is 100% on the agenda as soon as we can get it done, right, Joe?
Sooner rather than later, I hope.
Yeah, can I ask a question about that? Because, we are now in this virtual hybrid world, and how are we thinking about equipping our branches and that kind of stuff so that we are better able to accommodate those logistics that are required to do had the hybrids or.
Well, we're talking about
It's not a
board
challenge.
meetings, or we're talking for them to use for the public? And
I
what
think
have you?
I think it's both, right? If we're gonna be a public meeting space, and is that something that we ought to be thinking about in terms of how the branches are equipped to be able to provide that as a service, also to patrons?
I know, I don't want to get, I can't get too technical because I don't know much about it, except to say that the newer libraries have the bandwidth, or I think that the technology infrastructure to accommodate us. Some of the older ones don't, and that's where the obstacles are approaching.
Mhm.
But I agree that if we're going to be a full service library, we should have that option. First of all, we need the option because for the board meetings, because we have in our bylaws, if board members can be there remotely. And so we need to be able to allow that board member access to not only be there, but also answer questions, hear what's going on, be able to hear or see presentations and what have you. So we have to do it, or we have to have that capability for our board meetings if we want to go to the branches. I think if offering that to the public as well for their meetings, I think it's a good idea.
Has there ever been any kind of cost estimate made for those branches that don't have the ability to do that?
Or have they been identified? as
Yeah.
those that don't have the capability?
I mean, no, we haven't done an evaluation like that that I'm aware of. Some of the new branches have improved sort of mediation abilities. Camera can't see right now. But for example, we just got this room kind of fully mediated for this type of meeting. You notice Randy's not in the middle with the camera. We've got this on the wall, and we've got these microphones hanging from the ceiling up here. That, in addition to already having the projectors and the screens and the speakers in the room to do two-way communication, just adding this stuff was about $18,000. And this was through a grant that Shanika, our IT department, helped secure, and our facilities department helped us get this all installed. And it's still, this is the first time we're kind of testing it out with this board meeting. Repeating that at branches obviously would be a pretty big project. And what's difficult about holding all the board meetings at individual branches is the two-way communication. You have to be able to have microphones that can pick everyone up, and speakers so you can hear everything, and screens so you can see, and a camera so you can see everybody. And all of that without getting feedback and without having, just technical issues is a pretty big lift. And so we've set this room up nicely for this, but I'm hearing loud and clear that you guys like to start doing these out in the branches. So we're looking into it, and of course with Randy retiring, that doesn't make it any easier because we're losing our number one guy that helps with this stuff. So, but yeah, I talked with Judge Salinas about this and Hope as well a little bit, and Michelle, and we're looking into it.
I think that's a good start. I know we did some at what I believe at college, the college 38th Street, some of those different branches, like you said, like the older technology with the video cameras and everything else. But I mean, if we can just do it, whatever the board could do to help facilitate that to where we can't reach the public, I think that'd be great.
My first thing, if there's money out there in the federal grants to get this thing done, that's the first thing we should look at. And then if secondarily, if there's money within our budget going forward, we should look at that as well. Because I think, like I said, I agree we should be out there with the community.
Judge, before you move on, I just wanted to say, as it relates to our governance meeting in August, if we could probably get whatever dates in front of the board as soon as possible. So, because a lot of us will be making our last kind of summer travel, and that might be helpful. Second thing is, and you don't have to address this now, but is that governance meeting going to be with a virtual option, or is that just totally in person? And you don't have to address that now, but
It'd be an executive session of the board. And so,
it has to be.
so I believe we can work through logistics as long as you have a quorum present, I think you could participate, have participation virtually. But we'll work through, the goal obviously would be to be in person because you'll have your trainers in person. Your state library personnel will be in person, but also understand that life happens as well. So we'll work and get availability now that we've narrowed in on subject matters and timeframes. We'll work to get availability of the state library personnel and circulate that.
Taking into mind the obligation we already have with the CEO search.
We'll let Leighton on.
Any other matters for the good of the cause?
Just one point. I would like to make sure too that special thanks to Shanika and her leadership for helping us to move forward with the IT work that we need to have. There are different funds that we can get, and you're going ahead and getting some additional grants will make a difference in terms of meeting the request for us to have these meetings. Thank you, Hope, for bringing that up. We do need to do this, and there are companies that are more than willing to offer external funding to the library so that we can get these things done. We know personally about individuals and companies who are their diversity, equity, and inclusion officers who constantly make it a point of making sure that funds from the businesses also do it. We also have a board member who has expertise in technology. Won't be a conflict of interest to tap into that. But let's figure out how to do this quicker rather than later. The funds are there, they're out there. All we have to do is start looking for and being intentional like you've done. Right here next to me.
On that note, I'm going to remind everyone that the next board meeting is Monday, June 27th. Right now, it's going to be at this location. Thank you, folks.